Welcome to Crime with My Coffee. This podcast contains graphic descriptions and adult content. Mature audiences only, please.
Hi, y'all, and welcome to Crime with My Coffee. I'm your fabulous hostess with the mostest, June.
And I'm Suzanne. We're going to tell you some stories you've heard.
Some you haven't.
And some you'll wish you hadn't.
All with a Texas twang.
All right. Well, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Glad you're here. Glad you could join us.
Absolutely. And if you're here for the first time, go back and just start somewhere and listen to everything. But if you've been here the whole time, we thank you. We appreciate it. We love it.
We love you.
Yes.
Right. Well, what is in your mug this week, madam?
Well, in my mug, I actually don't have a mug because I don't know what it was this morning. When I got up, I was like, coffee, 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 coffee. So I had 3 cups of coffee. And now I actually am drinking a Java Monster, the Loca Mocha, and it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning.
I was going to say, y'all, we're recording at a slightly different time than we normally do. Same day, just a slightly different time, a little bit earlier than normal. It's like 10 o'clock, almost 10 o'clock. What the heck, woman?
I know. I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't want another coffee. And so my husband got up and he's like, oh, I want a Monster. And I'm like, oh, me too. So he brought it. And so that's what I'm drinking already. I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with me today? Maybe it's because I know cooler weather will be here eventually. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what they keep saying, but it was 100 degrees yesterday. So, you know.
Oh, I know it. I know. Ugh. So,
we'll see.
But what is in your mug today?
In my mug, I am drinking the Army of Dark Chocolate, my regular coffee, because we spent some time out of town last week and we tried lots of different coffees.
Yeah.
And so I missed my coffee. And so that's what I'm drinking this week. But next week's episode, I already have my coffee from where we went has been delivered. And it has arrived.
Okay, so hearing that, I will wait on mine then, because yes, I got coffee from there too.
Yes, and I will have my coffee. You can have your coffee, and then the next episode we'll switch because we share our coffee.
That's true. That's true.
So I will. Yeah, we'll have different coffee next time. I'm excited. It smells so good.
Yes.
Anyway,
it does.
But aside from all the coffee talk, I do have a case for us this week.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So we took a trip to San Francisco, California. Personally, we physically got on an airplane at dark o'clock in the morning and flew from Texas to California, hung out in San Francisco for a few days, and then got on a plane in the afternoon and flew back to Texas.
It was so much fun. We seen so much stuff. We did so many things. It was amazing.
It was. We'll make a Patreon episode about our trip to San Francisco, and we'll put that out on Patreon within the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
But because we went to San Francisco, I have been doing some research on several cases in San Francisco, got some pictures and all that to go with these cases. This case, I did not get pictures of anything for necessarily. This case is going to take us to San Francisco, California.
Woohoo!
Our little baby geography lesson here, because I know we've been to San Francisco several times. We're getting ready to go a couple of more. Mm-hmm. San Francisco is the commercial, financial, and cultural center of Northern California. It is the 4th most populous city in California. And it houses the headquarters of big, huge companies like Wells Fargo, Levi's, Uber, Airbnb, Twitter, that is now X and not Twitter anymore.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Among several others. It is the 5th most visited city in the U.S.
I see why, though. I absolutely do. And I do want to mention you were talking about big companies from there. I was shocked for whatever reason that Ghirardelli actually is based. It is a San Francisco chocolate, which I thought Ghirardelli. It just sounds, I don't know, French or something, and it's really good chocolate. So we did see the sign.
The one thing we didn't see in San Francisco, though, was rice-a-roni.
You know what? Yeah, but I mean, we really didn't go to any grocery stores.
We didn't.
So,
but it's okay.
We can find rice-a-roni here at home. It's fine.
I saw a box yesterday at the grocery store, and I almost grabbed it just so I could take it to the post office Monday and mail it to your husband and be like, "Look, we thought of you while we were in San Francisco."
Yeah,
but I didn't. Anyway, we are going to talk about a place in the Pacific Heights neighborhood. Pacific Heights is an affluent neighborhood that features homes built after the 1906 earthquake that completely devastated San Francisco. And it's really popular with young professionals. Now, the Pacific Heights neighborhood was actually just a couple of blocks away from where we stayed. Nice. It almost kind of neighbored it.
Sweet.
The population in 2000 was about 777,000 people.
Wow.
And the population in 2010 was about 805,000 people.
Oh, my God.
I just want to mention a couple of people from San Francisco.
Okay.
Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. I want to mention him because while we were there, we saw people in line at the stores waiting to get the newest iPhone releases.
They were definitely waiting in line for something, and them lines were long.
They were. Max Levchin and Peter Thiel, they are the co-founders of PayPal.
Wow.
Tom Hanks. Robin Williams.
Sweet.
Couple of bands, Journey, Metallica, and Grateful Dead.
Nice.
And one more person I wanted to mention is Abigail Folger. She was the Folgers coffee heiress, and she was a victim of the Tate murders. Thanks, Manson, you freaking jerk.
Yeah.
That's all for our geography lesson this week.
That's sweet. That's sweet.
So we're going to talk about a young woman named Diane Whipple. She was born January 31st, 1967, and she was raised on the East Coast of the U.S. She was born in Princeton, New Jersey, but she called Manhasset, New York, on Long Island, her hometown.
Okay.
Yeah. She was raised primarily by her grandparents, and by all accounts, she was an accomplished athlete, which became apparent pretty early on in her life. Lacrosse became her sport of choice. She was a 2-time All-American in lacrosse in high school. She played for Penn State, and twice she made the U.S. Women's Lacrosse World Cup team.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
She's kicking ass and taking names, y'all.
Yeah, she is.
In her mid-20s, she had a bout with cancer, but from everything that I could glean from what I was reading and such, she kicked its ass because she's awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
She moved to San Francisco, and around the age of 29 or so, she came within just seconds of qualifying for the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, Georgia, in the 800-meter dash.
Wow.
She was a lacrosse coach at St. Mary's College in Moraga. One of her players was quoted as saying, "We were the Bad News Bears when she came here, but she made us a team."
Nice. Very nice.
In mid-January of 2001, she ended up, she went out, she ran a marathon. And then on January 26th of 2001, just 5 days before her 34th birthday, Diane was coming home to her apartment building there in Pacific Heights in San Francisco. She had picked up the most delicious ingredients from the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
She and her life partner, Kristen, not her real name, by the way.
Okay.
They were having tacos for dinner.
Sweet.
I know. I told you the most delicious ingredients for dinner. I'm just saying.
I had the most delicious ingredients in my dinner last night. Yes. Yeah. It
Oh,
was
rude. I'm going to have to go make tacos now.
They were so good.
Sounds delicious.
Yes.
Well, Diane is heading to her door from her elevator, and her neighbor, Marjorie Knoller, was working on dropping a bag of dog poop into the trash chute after taking one of her dogs, named Bane, up to the roof to go potty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bane was one of 2 dogs that Knoller and her husband, Robert Noel, or Noel, I don't know, I'll probably pronounce it both ways throughout this story here, they were either fostering them or they were owners of them. It's a little murky. We'll get into the story of that in a little bit and you'll understand why it's kind of confusing. But that's when Knoller lost control of Bane and he attacked Diane.
Oh, no. What kind of dog is this? Is he a big dog?
He is a big dog. He is a Presa Canario. And to me, I've seen pictures of them. Yeah, we'll get into the history of the Canarios in a little bit. But to me, because I Googled it, because I had never heard of this breed either, they look very similar to like the Cane Corsos.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
How do you not know what those are? They are gorgeous dogs.
I probably, if I seen a picture,
do.
I would know. You know what?
You probably do.
I'm going to look at a picture while you continue on.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, no, Bane was about 130 pounds. I mean, he was a big dog.
Wow. Yeah, he is.
People in the surrounding apartments reported that they heard this attack take place and that it took about 20 minutes, or that it lasted about 20 minutes. But they didn't go out to help. This is a huge dog.
Yeah.
But I do know that for sure, at least one of the neighbors called 911.
Oh, wow.
Police showed up and the scene was horrific. Diane was laying there in the oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so this happened on the roof or inside the building?
Inside the building, in the hallway.
Okay.
Diane got off the elevator going to her apartment. Her apartment was right next door to the apartment that these dogs lived in.
Okay.
So they were literally neighbors in this apartment, not just neighbors in the sense that they live in the same apartment building, neighbors as in they share walls.
Okay.
So the police show up. The scene is gruesome. Diane was laying there naked, covered in blood. There was blood all over the walls. It extended 4 feet up the walls and 30 feet down the hallway.
Wow. Was she a nudist? She go shopping nude?
No.
Okay.
We'll get to why I mentioned that a little bit later on.
Okay.
There was bits of her clothing all over the floor. They found Bane locked up in the bathroom in Knoller's apartment. And I do believe Hera, which was his mate, the other dog that they had in this apartment, was kind of running loose in the hallways or whatever. There wasn't really anything that they could do for Diane. She did unfortunately pass away later that night at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Her autopsy report would reveal that she suffered 77 bite wounds.
Oh my God. Vicious.
The medical examiner said the only place on her body that didn't have any wounds were her scalp and the soles of her feet.
Oh my goodness.
Now let's talk about her neighbors for a minute.
Okay.
And how they came to get these dogs.
Yeah. Huge horses.
Now, Hera was not as big as Bane. I think Hera was only like 100 pounds.
But still, 100 pounds is big for a dog, I feel. I know. Well,
y'all can't see me pointing at my dog. He's about 90 pounds.
Is he really? Because he's like...
Yeah, he really is.
Almost
he's about 90
the same
pounds.
size as my dog, and she is fat.
He's
weighs
between 90 and 100 pounds. In fact, before I take him to get
75.
before I go to give him his heartworm medication this month,
Uh-huh.
I need to take him to the vet and have him weighed to make sure that it's still he's still within the weight
Okay.
for what I have.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that. I mean, I would have
Yeah.
guessed he weighed the same as my dog, which is 75, 80
No,
pounds.
he's between 90 and 100 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's a big boy, but he's not huge.
Right. No, he's not. But okay.
Anyway, so Robert Noel and Marjorie Knoller were both attorneys.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They had, as of this attack, they had recently been working out of their apartment doing their own practice.
Okay.
They were both on their third marriage. Noel had been married to his first wife for 23 years when he divorced her in 1986.
Wow.
He grew up in Baltimore, went to the University of Maryland, went to law school, and in 1980, he and his family moved out west so that he could become an assistant U.S. attorney in San Diego. Then he slid on over into corporate law. After his divorce, he moved to San Francisco. There, he married and subsequently divorced a legal secretary before he met Marjorie Knoller.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marjorie grew up in Brooklyn and wanted to become an FBI agent when she grew up.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
She didn't know. She ended up going to law school. She met Noel when she was a 32-year-old divorced law school graduate. She was just starting her career at the firm that Noel worked at. And they went to lunch one day, and evidently they hit it off and sparks were flying because they moved in together just a week later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like boom, done. In May of 1988, they both resigned from this firm and they began to take on more pro bono work.
Okay.
In 1994, they got a case that they called interesting, which would end up changing their lives. Their new client was a guard at Pelican Bay State Prison.
Mm-hmm.
Pelican Bay State Prison is located in Northwest California. It's up kind of close to the border of Oregon and like the coast. So it's like really close.
Right.
But there had been a bunch of complaints from the inmates at this particular prison, which had only recently opened. It opened in 1989. So it was a fairly new prison in 1994. But there had been a whole lot of complaints coming from the inmates in this prison about brutality and cruel and unusual punishment coming from the guards towards the inmates, basically saying, you know, the stuff these guards are doing, it's torturous. Like they're basically torturing us. They ended up filing a lawsuit against the prison or the state. I don't really remember which one it was. But during this lawsuit, this particular guard, which I am not going to name,
Okay.
he did go against the grain and he testified for the inmates, backing up their claims, saying, no, yeah, these guards are it's wrong. You know, these guards are not good people. The inmates did win their lawsuit, and this prison did clean up their act according to everything that I've read. You know, they went through, cleaned house, made sure, you know, they're not completely treating these inmates like they're less than human or anything.
Right.
But this guard that testified for the inmates backing up their claims, he was now being harassed for breaking ranks.
Ugh.
So he files a lawsuit and Noel and Knoller take up his cause. They become his attorneys. They jumped at this chance to represent him in the lawsuit that he filed against the California Department of Corrections.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he would lose his lawsuit, and he did end up hanging himself afterwards.
Oh, no.
But this led them to take on another guard as a client. This guard had been accused of colluding with the Aryan Brotherhood to set up a child molester for beatings and murder.
Wow.
This guard was eventually found guilty, and one of the inmates that they called as a witness was later murdered. There was another inmate that testified in this particular case. His name was John corn-fed Schneider. We're not going to use his nickname. I just mentioned it because I don't know why his nickname wouldn't be corn-fed, because he comes from California and he was not one of the corn-fed Midwest boys that are huge and gigantic that you see on football teams.
That's funny, because that's when you said that. That's what I thought. I thought big old Bubba dude.
Nope.
That's funny.
Not from the pictures I saw.
Well, maybe they were just being mean to him then.
Probably not, because we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So now let's talk about Schneider.
Okay.
Schneider was born in 1962. He grew up in Cerritos, California, with his 2 younger sisters, his mom, and his stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
His stepdad was a retired Air Force officer. Schneider described his childhood as a happy one. He said, good childhood. Stepdad was great. He was awesome. Oh, yeah, I've always loved dogs. In fact, when I was 16, I got a summer job with a company out of Los Angeles that specialized in lending junkyard protection dogs to small businesses in the area. And so what I would do is I would transport the dogs in the evenings to these businesses, drop them off, and then the next morning I would go and I would pick these dogs up and take them back to where they lived.
Sounds like a pretty gravy job.
That's what I'm thinking. In 1979, he graduated early from high school and then joined the Air Force. Now, while he was in the Air Force, he had to spend a week at a time in an underground bunker and participate in round-the-clock drills where they were told that a nuclear attack was imminent. They were given 5 minutes to scramble the jets, and they were not told if this was a drill or if this was the real thing until the mission was over.
Wow.
This isolation from being in this underground bunker for a week at a time, this intense psychological pressure from not knowing if you're legit being attacked with nuclear weapons or not, it ended up being a super awesome, great prep work for Schneider. And it helped his ability to withstand the torturous conditions he would later in his life experience in the corrections system.
Okay.
One of his sisters, though, she told a very different story about their childhood. She said their home was more like a prison and their stepdad was like the warden. He would wake the kids up randomly in the middle of the night and make them go scrub the pots in the kitchen. Or he would wake them up in the middle of the night and make them go scrub the floors in the bathroom with toothbrushes.
Ugh. Wow.
She said she remembers her first beating from her stepdad when she was about 8 years old.
Oh, no.
And it was a couple of years after that he started to sexually abuse her.
Oh, my goodness.
She said that her brother Schneider stood up to this guy, because he was super protective of his sisters, said that, he tried to stand up to his stepdad. He's a kid, though.
Right.
And she said that the stepdad would beat the living snot out of Schneider.
Aw. Either
way that his childhood actually went, Schneider ended up getting kicked out of the Air Force after a couple of years. They got rid of him because he was writing some bad checks. So they're like, nope, you got to go, bro.
Right.
So after that, he started working at a pizza place. He becomes the manager there. He's managing this pizza place for a while. And then he decides, you know what? Tonight, yeah, I'm going to put on a mask and I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to go rob this pizza place.
Wow. Inside job, but wow.
Yeah.
Just
and then,
no.
Yeah. And then he steps up his game and he robs an armored car.
What? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was picking up deposits from I want to say the grocery store that his sister worked at or something. So he kind of knew the schedule of this armored truck. And yeah, so he totally went and robbed it too.
Oh my God.
So he showed up at his stepdad's house a little bit after these robberies with a new motorcycle. And so his stepdad started thinking, I bet Schneider was involved in these robberies. So stepdaddy calls the cops.
Oh, wow.
And in 1985, at the age of 23, Schneider began his career in the California Department of Corrections.
Oh, wow.
By July of 1987, he had earned his way into the Aryan Brotherhood. This man was thriving in prison. He ended up working his way through the ranks of the Aryan Brotherhood until he was one of the top tier people in this particular gang.
Wow.
Like he was up there.
He was about it.
Yeah. Well, in 1990, a few years before Noel and Knoller would become acquainted with him, Schneider was set to testify in a case involving another inmate. I don't really have the details on that case itself. I didn't really look it up, but he made a splash nonetheless. The warden at the time where he was serving time at had recently instituted some new anti-smuggling ways in his prison, saying, oh, my prison is, you can't get stuff in, you can't get stuff out. Like, my security measures are mwah, chef's kiss.
Okay.
And Schneider was like, dude, bro, it's not as great as you think. I got something for you. So he found a way to smuggle a shank made out of a soup ladle with him into courtroom on this day.
Oh, my God.
And he stabbed the defense attorney with it.
Oh, my God.
Now, it has never been said exactly how this soup ladle shank was smuggled out of the prison and into the courtroom or anything like that, but there have been signs.
Oh, yeah.
There was fecal matter found in the wounds on this attorney.
Yeah, there you go.
When Schneider was asked why he did this, he said the bit about showing the warden, you're not as great as you think you are. Look what I can do. And they asked him, well, why did you attack this attorney? And he was like, I really didn't like him.
Wow. But I'm just assuming since he attacked the defense attorney, now this attorney was probably representing him.
No. Remember, I said he was going to testify in a case involving another inmate.
Okay. Never mind.
It was not his attorney.
Okay.
He was being called as a witness.
Okay. Makes more sense now.
So he ended up being given a life sentence for this particular stunt, and that's when he was transferred to Pelican Bay, which, like I said, had opened in 1989 and had the torturous prison guards there.
Okay.
While he was at Pelican Bay, Schneider kept having issues. Dude, you're in the Aryan Brotherhood. I don't think you're a good person. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you're having issues or making issues or starting issues or you are the issues.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Anyway, he eventually was sent to live in the isolation unit after he had a skirmish with a member of a rival gang. The FBI even said that they are pretty sure he masterminded the murder or the attempted murder of 24 people, including the killing of a cop.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Anyway, he ends up in the shoe for a bit, and then while he was there, he came across a dog magazine. And this made him come up with the idea of running Dog o' War, a kennel that he set up that is essentially dedicated to breeding and raising and selling Presa Canarios. These big, beautiful dogs.
Okay.
Now, Canarios looks, like I said before, they look super similar to the Cane Corsos, to my personal untrained dog eye here. They were originally bred for guarding and herding in the Canary Islands. In the 1950s, the breed was super close to extinction, but it was brought back when they started to mix it with mastiffs and other large breed dogs.
Okay.
They were introduced into the United States in 1990, and they were used generally as fighting dogs.
I can see it.
Now, Schneider eventually was able to obtain ownership of Bane and Hera. He had some outside contacts that he and his cellmate were using and talking to in order to buy these dogs, and then other people were keeping these dogs for them and breeding them for them and raising and selling the puppies, and they're all splitting these dollars from all of this amongst them. So the kennel that he got Bane from, they ended up being sent to this lady that had a small little farm there in California, and she was keeping Bane and Hera, but Bane kept attacking her, I want to say it was sheep it might have been goats. She had sheep or goats on her farm. And Bane kept attacking her livestock. He kept attacking her chickens. He kept attacking her personal house cat pets.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, these dogs got to go.
Got to go.
She's keeping them. Yeah, she's keeping them chained up in a corner of her farm, which is not going to be good for the dogs anyway.
No. But, I've always heard, especially chickens, and I guess it goes for any animal, once a dog attacks a chicken or whatever and kills a chicken, they get that taste and they'll never stop. Never. That's what I've always heard. So if he's attacking goats or sheep or whatever and chickens and everything else, he's not going to stop. He is a very aggressive dog.
So I don't think I can agree with that, though. Not the aggressive part. I think he is an aggressive dog. Him, not the breed, him.
Right.
But the whole, attacking an animal or whatever and then getting that taste for it, I don't necessarily think I can buy into that, because there are dogs that livestock guardian dogs, that they are out there living with the goats and the chickens and all of that, and they're keeping them safe and protecting them, but they are killing the coyotes and the wolves and such that are coming after the livestock.
Right, but that's more predatorial type killing.
I still don't think
animals.
I believe it.
Yeah,
they still have they still have the blood taste. Yeah. So,
but
I'm just saying, I don't know that I believe that. I don't know. I could be wrong. I've never looked into it one way or the other. That's just my thoughts.
Okay.
I'm not a dog expert here.
Me neither.
I just know how to spoil them.
They're so cute. I just want to touch them and pet them and, get all the doggy breath. And me too.
Well, like I said, this lady said, that Bane was attacking her livestock, and she's got him locked up, chained up in a corner of her farm. And she's like, he's got to go. These dogs have to go.
Yep.
So enter Knoller and Noel.
Okay.
They had some contact with Schneider by this point, and they got to talking to him, and Schneider's like, hey, I need you to get rid, these dogs need to leave her place. Whether you take them, my friends take them, my family takes them, my cellmates' family and friends take them, whatever, because I want to say there were like almost 10 dogs that were here at the farm at this time. And from my understanding, Bane might have been the only one that was actually chained up. It might have been Bane and Hera, but I know for sure Bane was chained up.
Okay.
And so the Knoller and Noel, they get these dogs and they disperse them amongst Schneider's family and friends and his cellmates' family and friends. And they keep Hera, who had developed some heart problems. So they take her, I want to say around March or April of 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And then later that year, around September or so, they ended up taking on Bane as well.
Okay.
Well, 4 days after Bane moved in with them, he got into a fight at the beach with another dog and nearly took off Noel's finger.
Oh, my God.
These two dogs scared people in the building and in the general neighborhood. There were claims that during the several months that these dogs lived in that apartment building, that they attacked at least 3 other dogs, nearly killing a German Shepherd.
Wow.
And that's not going to be an easy feat either.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, so now, do we know how old these dogs, Bane and Hera, were when they went to the lady at the farm? Like, what kind of upbringing did they have before that?
I don't know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really know how old they were.
Okay.
But we'll get into some of their raising.
Okay.
In a minute. We're almost to that point.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious because I feel no matter what the breed of dog is, the way you raise it,
or lack of raising.
Yes, or lack of raising is how that dog acts.
For the most part, I do believe that there are some dogs, just like there are some people that are just born more aggressive.
True.
It's true. It just is what it is.
Yes.
I don't think it's necessarily specific to any breed.
No.
Just like it's not, with people. Some people, I think, are just born bad. And I think it's like that with animals too. I mean, have you met my cat?
I agree. I agree. But he's so cute.
He's cute, but he's evil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these two dogs, they had a reputation in the general area as being a menace. One neighbor said that she had actually bought some pepper spray to protect herself from these dogs.
Wow.
Other people that had dogs that lived there in this building, they said they started to change their schedule and their dog schedule so that they would not have to encounter these dogs while they were taking their own dogs out, because these dogs would lunge at them. They would lunge at their pets.
Wow.
And people said that Noel and Knoller had trouble controlling these dogs. I mean, like I said, Bane was about 130 pounds, and I want to say Hera was like 100.
Yeah.
Right around 100.
They're big dogs.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely huge dogs. Well, Noel was generally the one that would take Bane out because he was the man, and so he was a little bit larger, and so he could control Bane a little bit better.
Right.
Anyway, well, Diane told her partner Kristen about a month before her death that Bane had snapped at her, and that the only thing that saved her was this huge sports watch that she wore on her wrist. She said, otherwise, it would have been so much worse, and he could have, taken my hand off. And it was said that she was, after this incident, she was way more nervous about these dogs and about being around these dogs.
Got you.
And it was said that she would start opening her door to her apartment and peeking out into the hallway to see if these dogs were out there before she would ever step into the hallway.
Yeah. I mean,
If she's out and about with her partner, Kristen, and these dogs come around the corner or whatever, they said that she would take Kristen and physically put her between the dogs and Diane herself.
wow.
Because she was terrified of these dogs. Well, after Diane was attacked, Knoller told the authorities that her dogs had been kind of sick the past few days, and Bane really, really needed to go potty. Since he'd been sick, she didn't really feel that she could wait for her husband to get home in like an hour or so to take him out. So she took him up to the roof to go potty.
Okay.
And she said, when she came back down to their apartment, she's getting ready to put Bane in the apartment, but she's got to throw this waste away first. And that's when Diane came off the elevator, and Bane became interested in Diane and started dragging Knoller down the hallway. Mm-hmm. She said that Bane got a little aggressive, kind of barking and nipping at her, nothing major. And so Knoller kind of got in between the two of them, and Bane got kind of pissy about that. And he became even more aggressive, and Diane is going, hey, get off of me. She's freaking out. She's got Knoller on top of her, and she's got this dog coming at her. And she said that Diane accidentally smacked Knoller in the eye, and that's when Bane completely lost his mind and had to protect his mama, and Knoller knew there was nothing else she could do for Diane.
Okay. I know that they are very loyal dogs to their dog parents or whatever. But,
right. Yeah. Now, Bane was immediately put down after this attack.
Okay. Yeah.
Hera was seized pending a dangerous dog hearing. There was no proof that Hera actually participated in this attack, but there was actually no evidence that said that she didn't either.
Right. Okay.
So it was kind of, maybe not. No,
Okay.
Nobody really knew for sure.
Okay.
They would eventually have this hearing. Hera would eventually be put down the following January.
Wow.
So
okay.
a year later. A few days after Diane was killed, the cops found out that Noel and Knoller had officially adopted Schneider.
What?
Yeah. Now, I did read that he was adopted shortly before the attack, but I've also read that he was adopted shortly after the attack.
He's a grown man.
I understand that. And when this came to light and the public heard about it, they were freaking out, and Noel was asked about this. And he said, and I quote, You don't have to change diapers or worry about the sheriff bringing him home at 14 for underage drinking. At 11 o'clock, you'll know where he is. End quote.
You know, for whatever reason, you talking about this reminds me of another story. And I don't know why I can't think of it. Maybe because I'm thinking about these dogs or whatever. That it's almost the same thing that, somebody adopted somebody maybe in prison, maybe having a bad time or whatever, that was an adult. But I just can't think of what it is. I'll
Okay, well, you'll have to figure it out and let me know.
Yes, absolutely. But I believe it was female. It was not male. It was a female. Oh God. Yeah. I'll think.
Okay.
Eventually.
Well, it was reported that when they started talking with Schneider about adopting him, that it was so that they would have some say in his medical treatment. And so that if anything were to happen to him while he was in prison, even though he is never getting out of prison, but if anything were to happen to him in prison, they would be able to sue the prison or whoever caused whatever harm to come to him on his behalf and on behalf of his estate, because they are now his legal parent and his legal next of kin.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, Kristen would eventually file a wrongful death lawsuit against Noel and Knoller. They argued that her lawsuit wasn't even really a lawsuit because she wasn't a surviving spouse, and so it shouldn't even make it to the courtroom steps. You see, at this point in time, gay marriage was not legal in California.
Okay.
And so even though Diane and Kristen had been holding out hope that one day it would be legal and one day they could get married, at this point in time, when Diane was killed, they were unable to. And the judge that heard this lawsuit said, yeah, it's not her fault that she wasn't married. So no, I totally find she has valid claim on this.
Okay, good.
And the case was eventually settled with a confidentiality clause. Mm-hmm. Although I did read in a couple of different places that she was awarded $1.5 million.
Wow.
And she used part of that to start a scholarship fund in Diane's name.
Nice.
Her mother, Diane's mother, would also file a wrongful death lawsuit. Her suit, too, was found to have merit and was settled with a confidentiality clause. Okay. I have never seen anywhere any numbers reported on what her mother received.
Okay.
Noel and Knoller would both eventually be arrested and charged in the death of Diane Whipple.
Okay.
Noel was charged with manslaughter since he wasn't present at the time of the attack. He wasn't even home. Mm-hmm. And Knoller was charged with second-degree murder. They did end up getting a change of venue. It was, granted, they moved the trial down to Los Angeles, and that's where the trial was held. When it started, now they were tried at the same time. So when it started, there was a vet that had checked out the dogs when they lived on that small farm. And he went up onto the stand and he testified that after he had checked out the dogs, I want to say he was giving them their vaccinations or something like that. Uh-huh. That he left and he went back to his home or his office or whatever, and he did something that he had never, ever, ever done before. He sat down and he wrote a letter to Knoller because he knew that's where the dogs were going. Mm-hmm. And he said in this letter that Bane was unsafe to handle, like completely. He felt that these dogs had the potential of being very serious risks. And he said he had never, like I said, never written a letter like this before. But he was convinced that it was the potential for them to cause serious, serious injury was so great that his conscience wouldn't let him not say something.
Right.
He said that, they would be a liability in any household, regardless of where they were. Their defense attorney was a jerk face. Mm-hmm. Basically, the defense attorney just did a whole bunch of victim blaming.
Terrible.
Yeah. The defense attorney even asked the paramedics, hey, did y'all spend too much time trying to chase down Hera and get her locked back up instead of attending to Diane's injuries? And that's why she didn't survive. And the medical examiner got on the stand and he was like, no, her injuries were so great and so severe that no matter who showed up when they did, there was no hope for her.
Wow.
There just was no hope for her. Period. End of story. It has nothing to do with any of that. Like, you crazy defense attorney. Quit being a jerk face.
Yeah.
It came to light that the cops had found a book at their apartment that was basically a training manual to teach owners how to nurture viciousness into their dogs.
Okay.
In particular, it references a way to use a cloth rope. Like, let's say you take a shirt or something and you tie knots into it or whatever. There's a way to use that to help make sure your dogs get a little more vicious with the tearing of the cloth and stuff like that, which is why they think that is why Bane ripped off all of Diane's clothing.
Oh, my God.
Because he had been taught how to rip these cloths to shreds.
Wow.
In his attacks.
Wow.
Yeah. The jury heard of at least 30 instances of where these dogs were being aggressive from different witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Once the trial concluded and it was handed over to the jury, they went back, they deliberated for about 11 hours and came back and said guilty on all charges.
There you go. Yep.
Well, the judge said, no, we're going to go guilty on manslaughter for both of them because I don't think it rises to murder charges for Knoller here.
I mean, I kind of get that. Because Knoller wasn't setting out to do this. I mean, that's what
I understand, but that's why it was a second-degree murder charge, because from what I read, I didn't write it down in my notes here, but what I read was second-degree murder is malice murder. It
Right.
is it's not that she set out with the intention to kill her neighbor,
Right.
but she knew that her dogs possibly could.
Right.
And she did not keep control of said dog or dogs.
Right.
And so that is why the state felt that it rose to second degree murder instead of just manslaughter.
True.
But the judge is like, no, just manslaughter. Noel and Knoller both were sentenced to 4 years in prison. Of course, the state is appealing and they say, no, it rises to the level of second degree murder. I don't care what this judge said. I'm appealing this. So they appeal it. It goes to the Supreme Court. I want to say the state Supreme Court. I don't think it went to the Supreme Court. I think it just went to the state Supreme Court.
Okay.
And the state Supreme Court said, yeah, no. Okay, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So Noel was released from prison in September of 2003.
Okay.
Knoller was released from prison in January of 2004. In January of 2007, Knoller resigned from the California State Bar, and the next month in February, Noel was disbarred. And like I said, the prosecution was appealing her second-degree murder conviction, and they did eventually get it reinstated. The Supreme Court, like I said, I think it was the state Supreme Court, not the big, country Supreme Court. They said, no, yeah, we totally agree that it rises to and meets the threshold for second-degree murder. So she was then sentenced to 15 to life. In 2018, Noel passed away in a nursing home on his 77th birthday due to heart failure. Knoller is still in prison. She was originally up for parole in 2019, but it was denied due to her disciplinary record in prison, which included the fact that she had, in 2016, bitten a prison guard.
Okay.
She is currently not up for parole again until 2026. This was the first case where an owner was convicted of murder in the United States due to the actions of their dog, and that is my case.
Wow. Wow. Just wow. I am blown, simply just blown away. This was so crazy. So
just
so crazy.
so many twists and turns and lefts and rights and loop-de-loops and whats.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy. And
There was a lot that I left out, like the fact that when Noel was walking Bane, he would see Bane, go towards these dogs or try to attack these people, or these people would come up to him and say, "Hey, your dog bit me," or "Your dog bit my dog," and he'd be like, interesting, and carry on.
wow. Sounds like these dogs really needed a muzzle anytime they left their apartment. But I mean, that's on the people right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Know.
And there was somebody else that testified at the trial that said, even though Bane was the prize stud of Doggo War Kennels, which, by the way, was eventually shut down. The prison found out about it and shut it down.
Okay.
And that's how Knoller and Noel ended up with Bane and Hera. But this guy said that, he testified that, Bane was not a pure Canario. He wasn't. He was a mix of at least 4 other breeds that this particular breeder could see. And this particular breeder was a breeder of the Presa Canarios.
Okay.
And he said that Bane was not purebred, and Bane had health issues, and Hera had health issues, and
yeah, I think to bring them back up to population or whatever, they were bred with like Mastiff and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, but once that they were brought back up like that, they said, Bane himself was bred further out than what they did to breed them back into not being an extinct breed.
Okay. Wow.
Like Bane was intermixed with several different breeds.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
That it's just absolutely crazy. Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's my case. That's what I got for you this week. I wasn't happy about the fact that these dogs were put down. I understand.
Right. Oh,
I feel bad for the dogs because I don't feel it was the dog's fault.
Right.
I feel that these dogs were encouraged to be aggressive. I feel that these dogs were encouraged to be vicious. They did not have responsible owners at any point in time in their lives, as far as we know.
So
and it just breaks my little heart.
I know. Yeah, because they were just doing what they've been raised to do, what they were trained to do, and they didn't know.
And what they were always taught was okay.
Yeah. They didn't know it was wrong. That's wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, like I said, I understand why these dogs were euthanized.
Right.
That doesn't mean it makes it easier for my little dog-loving heart.
Nope. I get it. So, wow. But thank you very much for sharing. That was absolutely something. And if I think of the inmate adopted thing or whatever, I will let you know. I will think of it. I promise I will. So anyway, I guess until next time, guys.
Yeah.
See you later.
We'll be back next week with another new episode. Until then, y'all, okay, bye.
Bye.